Hey everyone, welcome back to Absolutely PlayStation and Steam Gamers. I'm Dylan, that's Coda, and that is Houston, and today we're going to be talking about the, game we knew about for a while, but is now, fully revealed. Spider-Man 2. This is very exciting.
I think they should have just called it Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, yeah, that's fair. Spider-Man 2 is definitely a title that's been used before.
Right.
Yes. Multiple times.
Right. So I guess they just gave up on that, but it's also possible that it'll get a rename at some point because it's not coming out until 2023.
Like a little subline or something about the big bad.
The big bad. So in this trailer, a few things happen to talk about. The first, I think, most obvious thing is Peter now has his Iron Spider legs.
Yeah.
Which in the first game you could get that by getting the Avengers suit, the Tony Stark one, but now it looks like that's just incorporated into the regular default suit.
Yeah. It was from what I remember, it was your L3 and R3 ability, and it really didn't do much. It just added a fun animation to your attacks.
I think you got a longer combo with it, but not any power bonus really.
That makes sense. But yeah, it seems like that's going to be that, along with Miles being in this game as well, is going to be the main new twist on combat. Something we talked about in our recap of the showcase itself is how Miles is going to be integrated in the gameplay itself. Houston, do you have any? We'll start with you. Do you have any specific ideas on how they're going to incorporate that?
I think I want co-op to be a thing. I know it's not, obviously.
Right.
But I do believe Peter is going to be the main protagonist, as always, because it is Spider-Man 2, not the Spider-Man Miles Morales 2. But I do think we're going to get side missions with Miles, as well as teaming up to fight the big baddie. I think he's going to be a partner.
Right.
And you might get to pick who you play as during some of the bigger boss fights. But the main story is going to focus more around Peter. And Miles being a side character, and Peter's kind of training him more in person now, as opposed to just random phone calls and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's back from his vacation or whatever the excuse was.
Back from his vacation, and now, hey, guess what? We got symbiotes, man.
Yup. We got people hunting us. Coda, you got any wild ideas on how they're going to introduce that?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be Peter as the main character. They're probably going to do more like what they did in the first Spider-Man game, where you mostly play as Peter, and then some moments you would play as Miles, like whenever his father got blown up, as well as when he was escaping from Rhino and stuff like that. So you'll probably swap over during moments when Peter's incapacitated or something. You'll play as Miles, and then there'll probably also be the MJ missions, which I liked from the first one, the stealth missions as MJ. I'm expecting those to be back because this will be a much longer game than Miles Morales, so they're going to pad it with those kinds of missions. I would like to, after you beat the game, or just for general patrols, to be able to pick one to play as, especially because in Miles Morales, you had Dinky, I think is Miles' friend's name. He made the app and whatnot for you to go around, and I liked that more than the just random events from playing as Spider-Man. An interesting idea, just to throw out a wild theory, is in the first game, the big bad was Dr. Octopus, spoiler.
Sure.
And you end that game with him being basically he's paraplegic now, he can't move any limbs, and that to me is a setup for the superior Spider-Man. We have Doc Ock without use of his body, so it's basically whenever he dies in the comics, take over Peter's brain, then we play as Miles to get Peter back.
That would be a wild, first of all...
That's way out there.
Yeah, to see that adapted in any way would be crazy to begin with.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I think that the games might delve into Superior Spider-Man is A, it's one of the best comic book lines of Spider-Man ever. B, the big time suit was in Spider-Man, the first game, and that's the suit he wore just before that event, if I remember right in the comics.
Yeah.
And 3, I want it to happen. So
Yeah.
That's the big one right
there. That'd be like
there.
Spider-Man 3 or Miles Morales 2 or something, you know, like a different game.
Yeah.
But I could see this being like the setup for that. Like how they've set up Venom from the previous 2 games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're thinking ahead to like Spider-Man 3 or even like Miles 2 or something. I could see that as like a... Because if they do make another Miles Morales like standalone game, they're probably going to have to come up with another excuse why you can't play as Peter. So I could see that.
He can't go on that many vacations.
No. But yeah, I think that would be interesting. But let's talk about the actual villains who are in this trailer. We get 2, maybe 3. Houston has a theory on a third, but that guy was in the first one.
They were in
Houston,
the first one, but that doesn't mean they can't be in the second one.
That's true.
Because at the very beginning, you see lightning hit the light post, and it's yellow lightning. It's not blue like Miles's.
Miles's electricity is yellow in the game.
Is it? Well, I mean, in the trailer at least, they're showing him with blue lightning.
No, that was the street fight that Miles and Spidey were having. I think Miles threw that guy against the thing.
I mean, that's possible. But that doesn't mean it can't be Electro.
No, they always add in more than just the main villains. For instance, in Spider-Man, there was the Sinister Six, but there's also like Taskmaster and the live streaming girl, because influencers are dangerous. Be careful.
I don't remember what her name was.
And then in Miles Morales, you had Rhino and the Tinkerer, but also what was the other people? There was somebody else. Prowler.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't know why they wouldn't bring those guys back just for like a little mission, because like even in the Miles game, like they bring Vulture back technically for like 1 or 2 missions. He's just a hologram, but that's just fun. Like Coda, like you were saying, it's gonna be a longer game, so padding by using older assets isn't something unheard of. But yeah, so we obviously get Venom, who was heavily hinted at in the last game. I mean, we saw Venom basically in the last game.
Right.
We saw the symbiote.
I mean,
but we see Venom here, who is voiced by. Let me double check. He's voiced by a guy from Candyman, which they seemed very excited about.
Is it not
article.
the same voice actor that did Harry in the first one?
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd. Yeah, there we go. No, I don't think so. And so that's like there's a theory there. Like, is Harry the one who's
right? Because
Venom or not?
Because also, would we be getting black suited Spider-Man? Because all we've seen of the Venom symbiote is that it's being used to treat Harry's illness.
Right.
That he went to Europe for in the first game, and then we see in the second game's end credit teaser that he's just in a tube.
Just chilling.
100% believe we're going to get black suit Spider-Man just from the little end there where it's literally showing the Spider-Man symbol, but in the black suit.
Right, but also Harry in this universe does know that Peter is Spider-Man because he like built things that only Spider-Man could fix. So it could be that the reason why that symbol is there is because Harry has such a close connection to Peter. But if it's not
wrong,
Harry...
But I believe there's another reason we got to play as Miles right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, like... I could see them doing that one of 2 ways. Like, either you can always play as Miles and the story's kind of agnostic on who you are, or they just force you into playing either Peter or Miles.
Or, like you said, does Harry get the symbiote and Peter's like, I got to save my friend, and takes it in?
Yeah. I forget, is video game Peter working at the Daily Bugle? He's not, right?
No, he's working at Oscorp. Well, he was. I don't think he's probably unemployed now.
If it's Eddie Brock, they're gonna have to write a new reason for him to not hate to hate Spider-Man.
It's just a really long grudge. It just took him a while to get Venom, but he still hates Peter from their time at the Bugle.
So there's another villain that was Less screen time, but
there's no screen time.
No screen time, but voiceover time.
Voiceover time. If for those that don't know, it's Craven, which is not confirmed, but the first line in this trailer is Craven supposedly talking to Venom about how he wants to, or this voice talking to Venom about how he wants to fight like an equal. He's been trying to find someone who is on his equal footing, which Craven the Hunter in the comics, that's kind of his whole thing, is he likes to hunt apex predators, and he deems Spider-Man as like the apex predator. He's the one that he wants dead and gone. So it's definitely Craven, but they don't in the article, in the trailer or nothing, they don't confirm that that's Craven.
I mean,
which is smart. Who else could it be? My first thought was Rhino, just because I wasn't paying attention to what he was saying, and I just heard the accent. And then I was like, oh wait, maybe it's Craven, and I went back, and literally the first line is like, I want to fight my equal, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's
maybe
Craven.
It's Mordo, you know.
It could be any number of characters with European accents, I guess. But yeah, what do y'all think about Craven? Is like one of the characters, at least for me, that like I've really wanted to see adapted into something. What do you guys think?
So Craven is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, like, period. Like, if you haven't read what's the book where he becomes Spider-Man? I can't remember.
Oh, like Craven's Last Hunt.
Yes, he basically kills Spider-Man and buries him alive.
Well, he does kill him.
Right. Well, he comes back to life.
He comes back, of course, because he's Spider-Man.
Because that's how it works.
But like, it's a beautiful book. Just read on its own, outside of the like arc it takes place in. But yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'm a little bit worried because Craven's fighting is not necessarily intuitive to a video game. Like, he's not necessarily all about just running up and punching. He's more about like traps,
right,
and outsmarting as well as outpowering his prey. So it can be fun with, you having to, but I'm worried it'll be puzzles. Is more of what his traps will become.
I don't find that as a problem.
I don't want Craven to be the Riddler. Is all I'm worried.
I don't think he's going to be the Riddler per se. I more say he is setting up these elaborate traps and stuff like that, like he does, but also he's clearly talking, well, we don't know for sure, we're just assuming, but he's talking to Venom, so he's using other people to do his fighting for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One interesting thing that I would love, that there's no way this can be in a game, is to like really sell home the hunter aspect of Craven and to make him feel like just such a dangerous enemy, is if while you're like swinging around in the open world and whatnot, you like see him on a building as you swing by, and then you go back and he's gone.
Like, they could totally do that.
I mean, they could totally do that. It would have to be done really well to not feel like cheesy. But I just want like every now and then a cutscene, like you just see him in a group like staring at you, and then like something passes and he's gone.
They could 100% do that. I don't know why you said they can't do that in a video game. Like, they totally could.
It could be cheesy though if it happens too often or something like that, you know.
Well, yeah.
He just wants it to be done right, which is fair. I think that would be a really fun idea.
I want to mention a potential third enemy we might be facing in the game, and that is the Green Goblin. With the symbiote being out, Osborn would now have his more attention diverted towards his hatred of Spider-Man, and especially if we are fighting potentially Harry inside of Venom at some point or something, it could make him use those pumpkin bombs and whatnot that we saw in the first game against us.
That is true. They did hint to him too.
This is definitely like shaping up to be kind of the this is going to sound bad, but the Spider-Man 3 of Spider-Man video games.
Oh yeah. Too many.
As long as I can skip down the street, I'm happy.
Fair. The problem though, like with Spider-Man 3, is they threw a bunch of villains in there, but it was a 2-hour movie, so like you don't have time to develop everything. But in this in this game, you have so much more time, and they've already shown, as evidenced by the first game, that they're okay with taking people's understanding of, you know, the Sinister Six and villains like that, and they throw them in there for like the fan service and making the universe feel more built and alive, while still allowing you know, the main villain like Doc Ock to actually have a path. So I don't know, that could be interesting.
And I doubt they would do this per se, but they always there will be DLC for this game.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they did that pretty well, I think, with the first Spider-Man, where like you had like, I think it was Tombstone and Hammerhead and whatnot in the Black Cat DLCs. They could put somebody like Green Goblin off on a DLC. I highly doubt they'll do that.
No.
I would be surprised
way.
by that.
Green Goblin, but they could put some
Maybe that's
other.
where Electro goes.
Yeah.
The
If
Electro,
they make
yeah.
Green Goblin a DLC fight, they failed miserably. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I do have one last thing I wanted to bring up too, besides villains. New York looks deserted AF.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people got out of there after like it became like a horrible like.
There was a giant monster running around biting people's heads off. So
Even still, like in what they showed, there was nothing around. There's no cars.
I mean, I would say it's
people.
night, but it's New York.
It's New York City. I don't care if it's
Right.
night. You're gonna see cars.
Maybe this is the one like universe in the Marvel multiverse where people realize New York's kind of like the focal center.
Yeah, maybe we get out of here.
Maybe I'll move back to Detroit.
I'll go to like Dallas, Texas, where there's nothing for Spider-Man to swing off. That's a bad point actually, because Scarlet Spider was in Houston, Texas for a while. So maybe not
Dallas
there.
still has skyscrapers. You go to like
That's true.
the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Like,
Yeah, there you go. That'll work. All right. Well, I think that's a lot of theories on Spider-Man 2. It's coming out in 2023, so I'm sure we will have a ton more to talk about.
yeah, that's a
in the
long
interim.
ways away.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, 2022 is almost here, so you know, think of it that way. But yeah, stay tuned to the channel for more updates on Spider-Man 2 and all your favorite games, Marvel games, and stuff like that. Other than that, I'm Dylan, that's Coda, and that's Houston. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.